If you think women get emotionally attached through fancy words or expensive gifts, you're wrong. A woman becomes attached the moment she feels emotionally safe. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how to create that feeling faster than you ever thought possible. A woman becomes emotionally attached not when a man overwhelms her with grand gestures or perfect lines, but when she recognizes that his presence brings her peace rather than anxiety. Emotional safety is the silent force behind attachment, and it is something you create through your behavior, your energy, and the environment you cultivate around her. Most men misunderstand this entirely. They think being a safe space means agreeing with everything she says or suppressing their own needs. But emotional safety is deeper than compliance. It is about becoming someone who can handle her reality without turning it into conflict, judgment, or chaos. Women naturally guard their inner world because society often teaches them that vulnerability is risky. When she expresses something genuine, her fears, her stresses, her dreams, her insecurities, she is testing the emotional climate around you. She is trying to see, can I trust this person with the truth of who I am? If the answer is yes, attachment begins. If the answer is no, she withdraws, no matter how attractive you are or how much time you've spent together. Being a safe space means you don't weaponize her honesty. When she opens up, you don't use it later in arguments, you don't mock it, and you don't compare her to others. Many women have been emotionally punished for expressing their real feelings, called too much, too emotional, or too sensitive. So when she finds a man who doesn't make her feel wrong for being human, that man becomes significant in her emotional landscape. You show safety through your reactions. If she shares something uncomfortable, do you become defensive? Do you dismiss her experience? Do you turn the conversation into a competition about who has it worse? Or do you take a breath, listen, and try to understand what she is really communicating beneath the surface? Women bond through emotional attunement. That doesn't mean you have to be perfect at it, but it does mean your intention should be to protect the connection instead of protecting your ego. Being a safe space also means that your mood is stable enough that she doesn't feel like she's walking on eggshells around you. Emotional unpredictability is one of the fastest ways to make a woman feel unsafe. If she never knows what version of you she's going to get, angry, distant, irritated, dismissive, she will never allow herself to attach deeply. Safety is built when your emotional tone is consistent, not when it fluctuates based on stress, insecurity, or power games. You don't have to be emotionless, but you do need to be self-regulated. When you can speak calmly instead of exploding, when you can communicate instead of shutting down, when you can remain grounded even during disagreements, she experiences your presence as secure rather than threatening. That stability becomes one of the strongest emotional anchors for her. And being her emotional safe space doesn't mean you never challenge her or express your own truth. It means you do so without aggression, without belittling, without making her regret being open with you in the first place. Safety is not silence. It is respectful honesty. It is the ability to navigate difficult conversations without turning them into emotional warfare. Women attach to men who can handle depth, not just romance, not just passion, but the full spectrum of human emotion with maturity and respect. Listening is one of the most underestimated forces in emotional connection, yet it holds the power to make a woman feel seen in a way that instantly deepens her attachment. Women are not seeking perfection in a man, they are seeking presence. They want to feel that when they speak, their emotions are not an interruption or an inconvenience, but something valued and respected. When a woman feels misunderstood, dismissed, or judged, she retreats internally, even if she stays physically present. But when she feels truly heard, she begins to trust you with more of herself. her thoughts, her fears, her desires, her past, her vulnerabilities. The way you listen shapes the emotional climate of the relationship. Many men listen just to respond, to fix, or to win an argument, but very few listen to understand. Understanding requires patience, curiosity, and the willingness to step into her emotional world without trying to rearrange it according to your logic or personal comfort. Listening in a way that makes her feel understood means paying attention not just to her words, but also to the emotions underneath them. Women often communicate in layers. What she says on the surface may be a doorway to something deeper. For example, if she tells you she feels ignored, the surface issue might be time, but the deeper issue is emotional significance. If she says she feels anxious, the surface issue might be stress, but the deeper issue is a desire for reassurance. When you respond only to the surface, you miss the core of her message. But when you respond to the emotion behind the words, she feels truly connected to you. This doesn't mean you must analyze her like a therapist. It simply means being present enough to notice. Notice her tone, her pace, her expressions, the subtle shifts in her energy. Often, emotional understanding is felt more than spoken. Another part of listening without judgment is resisting the urge to correct, debate, or minimize her feelings the moment she expresses them. Many men, out of habit or discomfort, jump into solution mode too quickly, cutting off the emotional expression she needed. Others get defensive because they interpret her feelings as criticism. But listening is not agreement, it's acknowledgement. You can validate her emotions without surrendering your own truth. You can understand her perspective without abandoning your own. What matters is that her feelings are given space to exist. Judgment shuts people down. Understanding opens them up. When she feels she can speak freely without being criticized, lectured, or made to feel wrong, she will naturally share more. The more she shares, the closer she feels. Listening that creates emotional attachment also requires presence. This means putting down your phone, making eye contact, and showing that your attention is genuinely directed toward her. Small gestures like nodding, asking thoughtful follow-up questions, or gently paraphrasing what she said signal that you are not just hearing her, you are absorbing her. When you give her your full presence, you are telling her without words that her inner world matters to you. This kind of listening creates a connection that feels safe, supportive, and deeply intimate. Revealing your depth is about allowing a woman to truly see who you are beneath the surface, your values, your standards, your principles, your inner world, without slipping into the trap of overexposure, emotional dumping, or needy confession. Many men confuse vulnerability with desperation. They think openness means spilling every thought, trauma, or insecurity in hopes that a woman will feel closer to them. But desperation doesn't create connection. It creates pressure. Depth, on the other hand, invites curiosity. A woman becomes emotionally drawn to a man when she senses there is something meaningful inside him, something rooted, something steady, something she can learn from, something she can respect. Depth is magnetic because it reflects emotional maturity. It shows that you live with intention, not impulse. When a woman sees that, she naturally wants to understand more of you. But when a man reveals himself in a way that feels rushed, chaotic, or dependent on her approval, she instinctively pulls back because desperation signals emotional instability, and instability is the opposite of attraction. Depth is revealed through self-awareness. A man with depth understands his own motivations, his boundaries, his purpose, and the experiences that shaped him, and he communicates these things with calm clarity rather than dramatic intensity. For example, talking about your dreams or the lessons you learned from past challenges is depth, but venting endlessly about past relationships or expecting her to heal your emotional wounds is desperation. Sharing your values, how you treat people, what matters to you, what you stand for, is depth. But seeking validation or reassurance for every fear or insecurity is desperation. A woman can sense the difference instantly because depth feels grounding, while desperation feels draining. When you share from a place of inner stability, she feels invited into your world. When you share from a place of emotional neediness, she feels responsible for your world. Women are drawn to men who can express emotion without collapsing into it. This means you don't have to pretend to be strong all the time or act like nothing affects you. Real depth includes emotional honesty, but emotional honesty delivered with self-control. You can talk about a struggle you overcame, a moment that changed you, or a fear you still work through, as long as you own your experience without expecting her to fix it for you. That is the kind of vulnerability that builds respect and intimacy. A woman attaches when she sees a man who feels deeply but also stands firmly. Someone who can navigate his emotional landscape without drowning in it. Someone who can be soft without becoming unstable. Revealing your depth also means having interests, ambitions, and a life beyond the relationship. Nothing communicates depth more clearly than a man who is driven by something larger than himself, his growth, his craft, his purpose. This creates an emotional richness that makes you attractive on a deeper level. Desperation appears when you make her the center of your world too quickly, when you abandon your mission in exchange for her attention, when your actions communicate that your entire emotional state depends on her. But depth shows her that you care for her deeply while still remaining rooted in who you are. That duality, connection without dependence, is what creates emotional safety and attraction. Depth is not about performing. It's about being real in a way that strengthens the connection rather than suffocating it. Stability is one of the deepest emotional attractors for a woman because it signals security, maturity, and reliability. Qualities that allow her to relax into the connection rather than remain guarded. But many men misunderstand what stability actually means and unknowingly replace it with predictability, which is not the same thing. Predictability is routine, monotony, the absence of surprise or growth. It is doing the same things, speaking the same way, repeating the same patterns until the relationship feels stagnant. Stability, however, is emotional steadiness. It's consistency in how you treat her, how you communicate, how you handle stress, how you show up in the relationship. A woman can fall in love with stability because it creates emotional safety, but she disconnects from predictability because it drains excitement and passion. Stability is about who you are. Predictability is about what you do, and when men confuse the two, they either bore her or overwhelm her. Stability means she doesn't have to guess your intentions, your mood, or your commitment. It means your emotional baseline doesn't fluctuate wildly depending on your stress, your insecurity, or your temporary frustrations. When you're stable, you handle challenges without lashing out, you communicate without stonewalling, and you remain grounded even during conflict. It doesn't mean you're emotionless, it means you don't let your emotions control the dynamic. A woman attaches deeply to a man whose presence feels like a calm harbor, not a storm she constantly has to navigate. But being this grounding force doesn't mean becoming predictable to the point of dullness. Predictability eliminates tension, excitement, and the sense of discovery. When everything becomes routine, she no longer feels the spark that keeps the connection vibrant. Stability also means your words and actions align over time. You don't say things you don't mean. You don't make promises you can't keep. You don't use affection as a negotiation tool. You don't switch your behavior based on convenience. This reliability builds trust, and trust is the foundation of emotional attachment. But again, predictability is different. Predictability is when a man stops evolving, stops listening, stops surprising her with emotional depth or new experiences. It's when he becomes so repetitive that the relationship feels stuck in place. Women crave emotional security, but they also crave intrigue. The sense that the man they are with continues to grow, continues to challenge them intellectually and emotionally, continues to bring new energy into the connection. So giving her stability without predictability means maintaining a steady emotional presence while still being spontaneous, creative, and engaged in life. It means she knows who you are, but she doesn't feel like she has fully discovered every part of you. It means you are solid in your character, but dynamic in your expression. You handle life with maturity, but you still bring laughter, curiosity, and passion. You don't change the core of who you are, but you continue to expand the ways you express yourself. This creates a balance that is incredibly attractive to women. The comfort of consistency with the excitement of growth. Stability invites her heart to trust. Unpredictability keeps her heart awake. When a man embodies both, he becomes the kind of presence a woman can rely on without ever feeling emotionally bored or disconnected. You said, many men praise a woman's beauty, compliment her looks, admire her appearance, and assume this alone will create a lasting connection. But beauty, while appreciated, is not what forms emotional attachment. A woman hears compliments about her looks from strangers, from social media, even from people who barely know her. What she rarely receives and what deeply impacts her is intellectual and emotional investment. When you invest in her mind, you communicate that you see her as a whole human being, not just a physical presence. You show her that her thoughts matter, her perspective matters, her opinions carry weight, and her inner world interests you. Beauty catches the eye, but depth engages the soul. A woman becomes emotionally attached when a man values her intelligence, her creativity, her insights, her dreams, and her ambitions. This type of attention awakens a part of her that rarely gets acknowledged in a superficial world. Investing in her mind means asking thoughtful questions instead of shallow ones. It means showing genuine curiosity about the things she's passionate about, the experiences that shaped her, the ideas she holds close, the goals she wants to pursue. When you take the time to understand the way she thinks, she feels seen in a way that goes far beyond physical attraction. And it's not about interrogating her with rapid-fire questions. It's about creating conversations that feel meaningful, reflective, and alive. Women connect through communication, through emotional and mental exchange. When you engage with her intellectually, you show her that your interest isn't limited to what she can offer you physically. It expands into who she truly is. That's the kind of connection that makes her open up, trust more, and invest emotionally in return. Investing in her mind also requires you to have your own mental depth. You cannot stimulate her intellectually if you have nothing to bring to the table. A man with curiosity, purpose, ambition, and self-awareness naturally creates intellectual chemistry. He doesn't just ask questions, he shares ideas. He doesn't dominate conversations, he contributes meaningfully to them. You show mental investment by discussing topics that matter, exploring her viewpoints without dismissing them, and being open to learning from her as well. A woman feels valued when a man respects her intelligence and treats her thoughts as something worth engaging with, not something to tolerate. This creates a mental bond that beauty alone cannot achieve. Complimenting her mind does not mean ignoring her beauty, it means balancing both. When all you do is praise her looks, she feels reduced. When you praise her mind, she feels expanded. She feels appreciated for the parts of her that require vulnerability, growth, and authenticity. And as she recognizes that you value her inner world, she begins to share more of it with you. Her dreams, her fears, her beliefs, her creativity, these unfold naturally when she feels mentally understood. Investing in her mind builds a foundation of respect and admiration, the kind that strengthens emotional attachment with every meaningful conversation. Shared experiences are one of the strongest bonding forces in human relationships because they allow two people to create memories, stories, and emotional associations that cannot be replicated with anyone else. A woman may enjoy conversations, appreciate compliments, and feel charmed by your personality. But true emotional attachment grows when she starts associating you with meaningful moments in her life. These moments do not always need to be grand or dramatic. Often, the simplest experiences become the most powerful. Walking together, cooking together, trying something new, exploring new places, learning a skill side by side. These experiences create a sense of us, a subtle but profound emotional shift from two separate individuals to a shared unit. When you experience life alongside her instead of merely talking about it, you give her something real to feel connected to, something tangible that stays with her long after the moment ends. Shared experiences deepen connection because they create emotional imprints. When she laughs with you, her brain associates you with joy. When she feels safe around you, it associates you with comfort. When she tries something exciting or unfamiliar with you, her mind links you to adventure and openness. These emotional associations transform ordinary interactions into bonding experiences. You're not just someone she talks to, you're someone who adds value to her life through the moments you create together. People grow attached to those who shape their emotional world, not just their conversations. This is why experiences matter more than words. Words can be forgotten, but feelings that arise during moments are remembered deeply. Creating shared experiences also means being intentional. You don't have to take her on expensive trips or plan extravagant dates. What matters is the quality of your presence and the emotional tone you bring into the moment. Even sitting together in silence, listening to music, or watching the sunset can become meaningful if the connection is genuine. Shared experiences should feel natural, not forced. The goal is not to impress her, but to be present with her. A woman becomes emotionally attached when she senses that you enjoy experiencing life with her, not just spending time with her. Small rituals, daily check-ins, weekly activities, inside jokes, shared habits create a rhythm in the relationship that feels comforting and familiar. These repeated experiences build consistency, and consistency builds emotional depth. Another powerful aspect of shared experiences is growth. When you grow together, emotionally, mentally, or even in skills, you form a deeper bond because growth requires vulnerability, cooperation, and trust. Doing things that challenge you both, even in small ways, strengthens your connection. It could be learning something new together, supporting each other through a difficult situation, or overcoming a small fear as a team. These shared challenges create a sense of partnership. A woman feels attached to a man she can grow with, not just a man she can talk to or have fun with. Ultimately, shared experiences give the relationship a sense of direction. They create a storyline, a journey, a set of memories that belong only to the two of you. When a woman feels that her life is richer, fuller, more meaningful, and more emotionally alive because of the moments she shares with you, attachment forms naturally because you become woven into her emotional history. Leading with masculine integrity is one of the most powerful ways to create emotional attachment because integrity communicates strength, consistency, and character, qualities that make a woman feel safe and respected. Many men mistake ego for strength. They think dominance, control, or emotional detachment makes them appear powerful. But ego-based behavior doesn't attract emotional connection. It repels it. Ego is fragile, reactive, and constantly seeking validation. Integrity, on the other hand, is grounded and unshakable. It is the ability to stay true to your values, your word, and your emotional principles, even when it's inconvenient. Women are naturally intuitive, and they can sense immediately whether a man acts from ego or from integrity. Ego tries to impress. Integrity expresses. Ego demands attention. Integrity earns respect. Ego wants to be right. Integrity wants to be real. When a woman encounters a man who leads with integrity, she feels a rare sense of trust because such men are not common. Masculine integrity shows in how you handle conflict. Ego reacts, escalates, and seeks to win. It turns disagreements into battles and mistakes into opportunities to assert superiority. But a man of integrity is steady. He doesn't run from hard conversations, nor does he attack when he feels challenged. He listens, speaks honestly, and remains calm even when emotions get intense. This emotional discipline is deeply attractive because it shows reliability. A woman attaches to a man whose emotional leadership feels stable, not volatile. She is drawn to someone who can maintain respect even during conflict, who can apologize without feeling weak, and who can express boundaries without becoming aggressive. Integrity creates emotional safety because it shows maturity in handling emotions, handling her, and handling himself. Leading with integrity also means your actions align with your words. You don't make promises you cannot keep, and you don't say things just to create an impression. A man with integrity would rather speak less and deliver more than speak a lot and deliver nothing. Reliability is one of the strongest emotional anchors for a woman. When she sees that you follow through, that you are consistent, and that you honor what you say, she begins trusting you, not just with her time, but with her emotional vulnerability. Ego, however, is inconsistent because it depends on external reactions. It modifies behavior based on who is watching or what can be gained. Integrity stays the same regardless of circumstances because it's rooted in character, not performance. Another dimension of masculine integrity is how you treat people who have nothing to offer you. Ego tries to impress upward and dismiss downward, valuing people based on status or benefits. Integrity values everyone with respect because it reflects your own dignity, not theirs. A woman observes these things deeply: how you treat the waiter, how you speak to strangers, how you respond to inconvenience, how you handle frustration. These small moments reveal more about your masculine energy than any speech about who you claim to be. Integrity also involves knowing your boundaries and honoring them without apology. Ego needs control and validation. Integrity needs alignment. When you stand firmly in your principles, when you refuse to compromise your values for short-term attention, when you lead with authenticity instead of bravado, you embody a form of masculinity that feels strong, safe, and admirable. Women attach to men whose presence brings clarity, not confusion, whose actions bring security, not instability, whose masculinity is grounded in integrity, not inflated by ego.